We look at the 5 cases, 6 months from now, or a year from now. Let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted of 3. Sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this.
Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
okay, but there's a big difference.
It's still he was convicted. He was guilty of that. He got a settlement. In the Trump organization, they're guilty there.
That,
okay,
again, was still civil, liable.
Yes, of course. But these are the cases we're talking about. And in the third one,
she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course. And in the third one, I'm just talking about the 5 cases. Yes, some are civil, obviously, and some.
What is going on, guys? We got to talk about based Megyn Kelly. Okay, I'm sure pretty much everybody watching this should know who Megyn Kelly is. She used to work for Fox News. Previously, before that, I believe it was NBC, okay, back when they told her, don't say anything bad about the Democrats, okay, and they used to rewrite her scripts for her. That's what she's previously attested to. Then she said she went on Fox, and they were much less of that, but she still had some issues with the harassment and whatnot. Shout out to Bill O'Reilly, which he's now doing his own thing privately as well. The Megyn Kelly went on here and she went on a tirade and cooked this radical leftist who tried to say that Trump got convicted 3 times. Okay, these people forget that Megyn Kelly is an attorney. Okay, like a lot of these folks in journalism who are in these big like news anchor positions, a lot of them actually are licensed attorneys, or they at least have a law degree. Okay, for those who don't know how the hell they get these positions, that's how. It's like a minimum requirement for a lot of these top news anchors so that they can have somebody who they feel like knows what they're talking about and is very disciplined and professional. In order to even get that degree, you have to be pretty on point. So without further ado, let's get into Megyn Kelly cooking this deranged leftist who's trying to smear Trump on stage and thought he could get away with it. Several people, including Megyn and others, dogpiled this man, made him look like a complete fool. Let's get into it.
And then what about Hillary versus Kamala?
Oh, God. Well, Hillary was smart.
I can't lie, she was.
The problem for Kamala Harris is she's not smart. She's not a deep thinker. She's very surface level. Yeah, she's giggling just like that all the time.
Spicy. Megyn, tell us how you feel. Really.
Y'all know why people giggle like that, right? If they just giggle, it's because they know that what they said is crazy and they're trying to like kind of awkwardly like giggle their way through it to avoid like second guessing how stupid they might have sounded. That's like people that are really bubbly like that, like that's cool. They could be really fun people to be around. But in regard to the presidency, I don't think so.
Hey, be honest.
And it's a cover. It's an obvious cover, right? It's like she gets to the point where she doesn't know what she's saying. Even she doesn't know what she's saying. And it's like, ah! And so you feel uncomfortable watching her. And then she gave her first interview to CNN. And suddenly, if that's drunk Kamala, suddenly we're dealing with hungover Kamala. Like, my values haven't changed. Like clearly somebody had told her, you cackle, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
What did you think about her bringing her emotional support white guy?
Exactly. Her emotional support governor. He was her big white blankie. Like I
mean,
used to
it made
have
no
as a toddler.
sense. Like it seemed like
Crazy
a terrible
walls.
strategic
Can't find
decision.
Tim.
Like who's making the decision to do that?
I agree. I objected to the whole thing. I think he was there for two purposes. One was, yes, in case she got in real trouble, he could step in.
Yeah.
And the other was to suck up some of the airtime so she had a couple of fewer questions to answer.
We look at the 5 cases, 6 months from now or a year from now. Let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted of 3, sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this.
Megyn Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
Okay,
one,
but there's a big difference.
it still was convicted.
Hold on a second. Like I saw this clip before, but I didn't see this dude eating the popcorn.
Megyn Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
Okay,
one,
but there's a big difference.
Yo, he's
still
steady,
he was
bro.
convicted. He was guilty of that.
Why he doing? Why the dude gotta do the popcorn? The the popcorn pose, like he eating the because he knew that it was time for Megyn to cook. Okay, look, y'all already know what I told y'all. I loves me a traditional woman. I loves me a woman that cooks. Cook, Megyn. Keep on, sister.
Yeah.
And the other was to suck up some of the airtime, so she had a couple of fewer questions to
All right,
answer.
I'm gonna let it play. I'm gonna let it play.
5 cases, 6 months from now, or a year from now. Let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well,
What are
he's
you
been
talking
convicted
about?
of 3. Sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this.
Eugene Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
Okay,
one
but there's a
was-
big difference.
It's still he was convicted. He was guilty of that. He got a settlement. In the Trump organization, they're guilty there.
That,
okay,
again,
in
was
the CFO.
civil, libel.
Yes, of course. But these are the cases we're talking about. And in the third one...
she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course. And in the third one... I'm just talking about the 5 cases. Yes, some are civil, obviously, and some are not. Some are criminal. But if we look
You
at all
said
5
3
cases,
convictions. Now you're walking it back.
I'm not walking it back. There's
Get it
3 in
straight.
which he was...
You should walk it back.
I'm
Okay, guys,
so
take it
glad
easy.
Megyn is here
Of the 5,
to
3 of them
this.
he's either guilty or...
You got a bad result.
Yeah, got a bad result. There are 2 more. If he is found guilty of those 2 more, Megyn, and 5 of 5, he had a bad result. Way to frame it. Will you chalk all 5 up in your mind to 5 different jurisdictions, 5 different prosecutors, 5 different juries and/or judges, all conspiring to get him?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Don't touch me unless you want to get burned.
Your answer, Tim.
They're-
5 of 5, 5 different jurisdictions. You think it's all
Eugene
lawfare?
Carroll, they changed the law so that she could bring a civil lawsuit
No
against him,
problem.
and she
Just so y'all know, for those who don't know, yes, they did change the law to where you can go beyond the statute of limitations and prosecute people for rape and sexual assault. And they specifically did this to go after Trump. Ironically, the person who did it had someone go after him using the same thing, and he tried to say it's unconstitutional to go after somebody after the statute of limitations. This was a radical left Democrat who did this. You can't make this stuff up. It backfired on him epically, but unfortunately it worked against Trump because that's all these people care about. They will literally change the law to go after Teflon Don.
did. New York went 87% for Joe Biden. That fix was in right from the start. The fraud trial that Letitia James brought against him has never been brought. There's no victims. The banks who were involved said, we didn't lose a penny. What are we doing here? We weren't damaged. Nobody was complaining except Tish James, who ran for office saying, I will get him. Then you have Alvin Bragg, who's a George Soros funded prosecutor who doesn't like to prosecute any crime in New York City, where I lived for 17 years, except if your name is Donald Trump. Let's go down to Georgia, where Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade couldn't keep their libidos in check long enough to actually bring this case against Donald Trump. It's a repeat of what was happening in January 6th up in the case with Judge Chutkan, who loathes Trump and has sentenced almost every J6 defendant to way more jail time than their counterparts would get. Those are falling apart because of presidential immunity, which was handed down by the Supreme Court, who said you cannot bring a criminal case against a sitting president for any official act. Those cases have been gutted. Also a Supreme Court ruling saying the same on January 6 defendants in general. And that leaves us with Florida and the documents. And Trump has torn that apart because Jack Smith wasn't properly appointed and isn't the right counsel. But there are other issues. They haven't even gotten to presidential immunity there. And so that one's going nowhere as well. And by the way, they're going to appeal it up to the 11th Circuit. She just threw it out. The 11th Circuit is conservative, and thank God so is the current Supreme Court. They're not going to tolerate that nonsense.
Let me ask you about...
Boom. Look, Megyn. Oh, man.
I think J. Cal just lost his right to ever bring up lawfare again.
We had fun. I appreciated J. Cal bringing that up.
I'm sure that you had fun, Megyn. I had fun, too. Speaking of lawfare, I'm sure you guys have seen the Nicholas Bass DOJ chief admitting that the whole thing against Donald Trump with all of these Jack Smith DOJ charges were completely fraudulent, fabricated, right? You guys have seen that clip. If you haven't, look no further.
He was stacking charges and rearranging things just to make it fit a case. I think the case is nonsense. It's a perversion of justice.
To make him a convict, a convicted felon. It affects his candidacy if he's a convicted felon.
It's a travesty of justice, a mockery of justice. The whole thing is disgusting. They're just out to get him. And that's why I like the surging of the public. It's a perversion of justice. He was stacking charges and rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense. State levels like the Wild West. They're like idiots. They don't care. They're all political. So yeah, this guy's probably going to try to lock him up. And it's going to be ugly. They're so obsessed with getting him.
Who is they?
Alvin Bragg, yeah, who I've known for 15 years. He used to work in my office. Before he decided to prosecute Trump, did you know who he was? You do now. I'm not sure what he wants to be, but I know he's not happy just being the DA of New York County. So Alvin's very ambitious. Every real estate person in New York does what he did. Nobody's ever been charged with this until him.
These guys are admitting that Donald Trump being public enemy number one is why they brought these charges. Not that you needed additional video evidence proving it, but it doesn't hurt anything because everybody knows that these are fraudulent charges. That's why Trump got all these extra donations. That's why he got all of this additional support. That's why they're trying to kill him, because they're like, wait a minute, all these BS charges didn't work. No. We got to take things a step further. We're going to do something that we know is going to work. That's all these types of people have. This is one of the things we got to watch out for, because there is a lot of time till this election's over. No doubt they're going to do everything in their power to try to take this man out. They're going to fail, and he's going to be the next president, and they're just going to have to eat crow, okay? They're just going to have to deal with Teflon Don dismantling this whole Rubik's Cube of BS that these radical leftists and globalists have put together to destroy American democracy, destroy the rights of all the United States citizens, free speech rights, property ownership, gun rights, everything imaginable these people want to destroy so that they can have a literal new world order. It's insane. The deeper you look into it, the crazier it is that these people are colluding against all of America and even best interest of the world, because it inevitably amounts to them wanting complete control, something out of a crazy movie. Unfortunately for us, it's very real. It's a threat that we have to face. And if we don't want these evildoers to win, this ain't Hollywood. The bad guys could win. We got to do everything on our power to make sure that doesn't happen. Get out and vote for Trump. When it's early voting time for you, get out and vote early. Make sure that you don't let these radical leftists have any possibility of you, a family member, a friend, not making it to the polls. We got to keep this communist out of the White House, elect Trump, and make America great again. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. Shout out to Megyn Kelly. I'm out.
And by the way, why are they so unattractive? I really legitimately want to know. I think attractive, smart people are not drawn to this nonsense. They're living their lives being successful. It's the unattractive and or dumb people who feel the need to do this to feel like they matter. Sorry.